So let's just settle into a nice, comfortable seated posture. If you are sitting at a desk in front of a computer and your legs are down, have them about a hip's width apart, knees about a hip's width apart, and really feel the weight of the legs in your feet. Try and feel the connection of the feet to the floor, the heels, the outside of the foot, the big toe mound, the little toe mound, and all of your little toe pads. And imagine the shoulders are aligned with the hips and your ears as much as you can aligned with your shoulders. You can have your hands just resting comfortably in your lap or on your thighs. Imagine your spine is this beautiful string of pearls of light stretching from the base all the way up through the crown of the head and beyond. Imagine someone's above the crown of your head, just lengthening your spine. And then go to the crown of the head and relax your scalp. Maybe you can feel some sensation there. And relax the forehead and the eyes, and the nose, and the cheeks, and the mouth, back of the tongue. Relax the jaw again, and the temples, and the back of the head around the occipital bone, the base of the skull here. Relax the back of the neck and allow your shoulders and shoulder blades to sort of just relax and drop down. Relax the throat and the chest and the belly and all of your limbs. And notice the sensation of the air as you inhale and exhale. You'll feel maybe the air flowing a little bit cooler as you breathe in, a little bit warmer as you exhale. And be aware of any sounds in your environment. Just try and just allow the sounds to be there. Try not to follow them with the mind. And then notice the thoughts that are arising in your mind. Maybe try and put some space in between them. And you can maybe take a step back and just observe the mind, observe what's there without judgment. And now bring to mind all the people of our life. So we start with the ones we love, our family and friends. And then there's those people in our life who we don't like so much. And they could be people who are in our life who we feel we wish they weren't. There could also be people that we know, various different people you might have heard about or see or know about. And then there's all of our strangers. Mostly these are the people I drive on the freeway with. And they're all equal in their wish to be happy. They're just like you and me. Everybody just wants to be happy. No one really wants to suffer. And everybody has this extraordinary capacity for this enlightened mind. And for some of us, It's hard to believe for some of those folks. It's like, wow, you did that thing. That was so kind of bad. But according to the text, everybody has this potential. And then we start this practice by thinking there is no negativity that can't be purified. And this purification process is basically a psychological one. And we create negativity with our mind. So equally, we can change that by creating positivity instead. And we start this practice with the power of regret. So we're doing this practice of Vajrasattva in the context of the four opponent powers. And this is the first one. So sincerely regret from the depths of your heart anything you have done to harm any living being on this day, in this life, and in all of our past lives, and think of specific actions of both your body and your speech, and then in general, regret all. And the reason to regret is based on this logic of karma, and we experience everything due to our past karma, our past actions, and having harmed others, we ourselves will necessarily experience suffering in the future. So we know we don't want any more suffering. So logically, it makes sense that we would remove these karmic seeds before they ripen as future suffering for us. So we can think like this. I regret from the depths of my heart having harmed others with my body and my speech, having broken my vows because I do not want their future suffering. I'm sick of suffering. And then we just regret our delusions. This is the cause of why we harm others. And just think, what can I do about it? Whom can I turn to? So here we come to this Buddha, this who we see as a doctor, who has the methods that we can use to purify. And we're not needing the Buddha to forgive us. We're not looking for a higher power. We're purifying ourselves by relying upon his medicine. So imagine Vajrasattva above the crown of your head. You can also imagine this is your teacher manifesting in this form for your benefit. And he's made of this radiant, blissful white light, sitting cross-legged on a white lotus and a moon cushion. He has a beautiful, radiant face. His eyes are long and peaceful, and they're full of love and compassion for you and all those people of your life. He has a sweet red mouth. His hair is black and held up in a top knot. His arms are crossed at his heart. The left is under the right, so it's closest to the heart. And it's holding a bell, which represents wisdom, and the right is holding a vajra, which represents the indestructibility of compassion, and they're being crossed represents enlightenment, infinite wisdom, infinite compassion. To the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha, I go for refuge until I'm enlightened. By this practice of meditating on Guru Vajrasattva, may I reach Buddhahood, so as to benefit all sentient beings. So we have this little section on developing compassion. So at the very beginning, we've done a little bit of a meditation on equanimity, which introduces us to this idea of developing compassion. It's the first step in our tradition in the Lamrim, the first step in developing compassion and bodhicitta. So we start with equanimity. So we've done that, and now we think about compassion. And it's in this section called reliance, because we are relying upon other people to develop compassion. So we start with the people we've harmed and just, reflect on something that we may have done to harm them. And then there's the people who've harmed us. And particularly for these people, because the harm they've caused us, the suffering they've caused us, is going to result in suffering for them sometime down the track without any kind of idea of when it might happen. So I think I must purify for their sake. So we do this with a strong aspiration to do this practice for the sake of others. And we start now section 3, which is the power of remedy, and we start with the body. And Vajrasattva very compassionately sends powerful white nectar, like coming out of a hose, quite forcefully from his heart. And it arcs around and enters your crown and pours into your entire body and fills you completely. And it keeps pouring into you until it forces out of your lower orifices all the harm you have ever done to any living being with your body in the form of inky liquid. And this pours out of you and disappears into space, not one atom left, and just feel completely purified as we recite the mantra. Vajrasattva Samaya Manupalaya Vajrasattva Dina Patita Dita Meboa Situkaya Meboa Sipokaya Meboa Anarakta Meboa Sawasiti Mimpiyata Sawa Kamasita Me Sitam Shriyam Kuru Hum Ha Ha Ho Bhagawan Sawa Tata Gata Vajramami Mutta Vajrabawa Mahasamaya Sata A Humpe Vajrasattva Samaya Manupalaya Vajrasattva Dina Patita Dita Meboa Situkaya Meboa Sipokaya Meboa Anarakta Meboa Sawa Sidi Mimpiyata Sawa Kama Sita Me Sitam Shriyam Kuru Hum Ha 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 Ho Bhagawan Sawa Tata Gata Vajramami Mutta Vajrabawa Mahasamaya Sata A Humpe Vajrasattva Samaya Manupalaya Vajrasattva Dina Patita Dita Meboa Situkaya Meboa Sipokaya Meboa Anarakta Meboa Sawa Sidi Mimpiyata Sawa Kama Sita Me Sitam Shriyam Kuru Hum Ha 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 Ho Bhagawan Sawa Tata Gata Vajramami Mutta Vajrabawa Mahasamaya Sata A Humpe Vajrasattva Samaya Manupalaya Vajrasattva Dina Patita Dita Meboa Situkaya Meboa Sipokaya Meboa Anarakta Meboa Sawa Sidi Mimpiyata Sawa Kama Sita Me Sitam Shriyam Kuru Hum Ha Ha Ho Bhagawan Sawa Tata Gata Vajramami Mutta Vajrabawa Mahasamaya Sata A Humpe Vajrasattva Samaya Manupalaya Vajrasattva Dina Patita Dita Meboa Situkaya Meboa Sipokaya Meboa Anarakta Meboa Sawa Sidi Mimpiyata Sawa Kama Sita Me Sitam Shriyam Kuru Hum Ha 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 Ho Bhagawan Sawa Tata Gata Vajramami Mutta Vajrabawa Mahasamaya Sata A Humpe Vajrasattva Samaya Manupalaya Vajrasattva Dina Patita Dita Meboa Situkaya Meboa Sipokaya Meboa Anarakta Meboa Sawa Sidi Mimpiyata Sawa Kama Sita Me Sitam Shriyam Kuru Hum Ha Ha Ho Bhagawan Sawa Tata Gata Vajramami Mutta Vajrabawa Mahasamaya Sata A Humpe Vajrasattva Samaya Manupalaya Vajrasattva Dina Patita Dita Meboa Situkaya Meboa Sipokaya Meboa Anarakta Meboa Sawa Sidi Mimpiyata Sawa Kama Sita Me Sitam Shriyam Kuru Hum Ha Ho Bhagawan Sawa Tata Gata Vajramami Mutta Vajrabawa Mahasamaya Sata A Hum. So be delighted that all the harm you've ever done to any sentient being with your body is now completely purified, and think that there's no way you could do anything but benefit others now with your body. And next is the purification of our speech. And Vajrasattva very happily sends powerful nectar from his heart chakra, and this arcs around and it forcefully enters your crown and it fills your entire body, except this time forcing up to the top of your body all the negativity of your speech, and this overflows and disappears into space, not one atom left. So just imagine that all the gossip and the harsh speech and the useless speech and lying and talking about people behind their backs, getting other people to agree with you, all of our kind of like inappropriate speech, not knowing what to say, to help somebody, not knowing what to say at the right time, when to keep a mouth shut, when not to. So just imagine all of that indecision, all that not knowing, and then all the speech karma completely purified. Vajrasattva Samaya Manupalaya Vajrasattva Dina Patita Dita Meboa Situkaya Meboa Sipokaya Meboa Anarakta Meboa Sawa Sidi Mimpiyata Sawa Kama Sita Me Sitam Shriyam Kuru Hum Ha Ho Bhagawan Sawa Tata Gata Vajramami Mutta Vajrabawa Mahasamaya Sata A Humpe Vajrasattva Samaya Manupalaya Vajrasattva Dina Patita Dita Meboa Situkaya Meboa Sipokaya Meboa Anarakta Meboa Sawa Sidi Mimpiyata Sawa Kama Sita Me Sitam Shriyam Kuru Hum Ha Ha Ho Bhagawan Sawa Tata Gata Vajramami Mutta Vajrabawa Mahasamaya Sata A Humpe Vajrasattva Samaya Manupalaya Vajrasattva Dina Patita Dita Meboa Situkaya Meboa Sipokaya Meboa Anarakta Meboa Sawa Sidi Mimpiyata Sawa Kama Sita Me Sitam Shriyam Kuru Hum Ha Ho Bhagawan Sawa Tata Gata Vajramami Mutta Vajrabawa Mahasamaya Sata A Humpe Vajrasattva Samaya Manupalaya Vajrasattva Dina Patita Dita Meboa Situkaya Meboa Sipokaya Meboa Anarakta Meboa Sawa Sidi Mimpiyata Sawa Kama Sita Me Sitam Shriyam Kuru Hum Ha 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 Ho Bhagavan Sawatata Gata Vajramami Mutta Vajrabawa Mahasamaya Sata Ah Hum Pe and Vajrasapa Samaya Manupalaya Vajrasapa Dina Patita Dida Mebawa Sitokaya Mebawa Sipokaya Mebawa Anarakta Mebawa Sawasidi Mimpiyata Sawa Kama Sita Me Sitam Shriyam Kuru Hum Ha 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 Ho Bhagavan Sawatata Gata Vajramami Mutta Vajrabawa Mahasamaya Sata Ah Hum Pe and Vajrasapa Samaya Manupalaya Vajrasapa Dina Patita Dida Mebawa Sitokaya Mebawa Sipokaya Mebawa Anarakta Mebawa Sawasidi Mimpiyata Sawa Kama Sita Me Sitam Shriyam Kuru Hum Ha 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 Ho Bhagavan Sawatata Gata Vajramami Mutta Vajrabawa Mahasamaya Sata Ah Hum Pe and Vajrasapa Samaya Manupalaya Vajrasapa Dina Patita Dida Mebawa Sitokaya Mebawa Sipokaya Mebawa Anarakta Mebawa Sawasidi Mimpiyata Sawa Kama Sita Me Sitam Shriyam Kuru Hum Ha 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 Ho Bhagavan Sawatata Gata Vajramami Mutta Vajrabawa Mahasamaya Sata Ah Hum Pe. So again, feel so happy that your speech is now completely purified, and imagine it's not possible to do anything but benefit others now with your speech. The next is the purification of our mind, and Vajrasattva very compassionately sends powerful beams of light from his heart chakra, and this arcs around and enters your crown and fills your entire being. So you imagine you walk into a room, it's pitch black, and then you flick on the light, and the light instantly dispels the darkness. So you imagine the same here. The light from Vajrasattva's heart hits your heart chakra, and all the darkness of the negativity of your mind, all your attachment, neediness, bitterness, grudges, jealousy, anxiety, depression, all of this is instantly dispelled. Not one atom left as we recite the mantra. Vajrasappa Samaya Manupalaya Vajrasappa Dina Patita Dida Mebawa Sitokaya Mebawa Sipokaya Mebawa Anarakta Mebawa Sawasidi Mimpiyata Sawa Kama Sita Me Sitam Shriyam Kuru Hum Ha 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 Ho Bhagavan Sawatata Gata Vajramami Mutta Vajrabawa Mahasamaya Sata Ah Hum Pe and Vajrasappa Samaya Manupalaya Vajrasappa Dina Patita Dida Mebawa Sitokaya Mebawa Sipokaya Mebawa Anarakta Mebawa Sawasidi Mimpiyata Sawa Kama Sita Me Sitam Shriyam Kuru Hum Ha 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 Ho Bhagavan Sawatata Gata Vajramami Mutta Vajrabawa Mahasamaya Sata Ah Hum Pe and Vajrasappa Samaya Manupalaya Vajrasappa Dina Patita Dida Mebawa Sitokaya Mebawa Sipokaya Mebawa Anarakta Mebawa Sawasidi Mimpiyata Sawa Kama Sita Me Sitam Shriyam Kuru Hum Ha Ha Ho Bhagavan Sawatata Gata Vajramami Mutta Vajrabawa Mahasamaya Sata Ah Hum Pe and Vajrasappa Samaya Manupalaya Vajrasappa Dina Patita Dida Mebawa Sitokaya Mebawa Sipokaya Mebawa Anarakta Mebawa Sawasidi Mimpiyata Sawa Kama Sita Me Sitam Shriyam Kuru Hum Ha Ha Ho Bhagavan Sawatata Gata Vajramami Mutta Vajrabawa Mahasamaya Sata Ah Hum Pe and Vajrasappa Samaya Manupalaya Vajrasappa Dina Patita Dida Mebawa Sitokaya Mebawa Sipokaya Mebawa Anarakta Mebawa Sawasidi Mimpiyata Sawa Kama Sita Me Sitam Shriyam Kuru Hum Ha Ha Ho Bhagavan Sawatata Gata Vajramami Mutta Vajrabawa Mahasamaya Sata Ah Hum Pe and Vajrasappa Samaya Manupalaya Vajrasappa Dina Patita Dida Mebawa Sitokaya Mebawa Sipokaya Mebawa Anarakta Mebawa Sawasidi Mimpiyata Sawa Kama Sita Me Sitam Shriyam Kuru Hum Ha Ha Ho Bhagavan Sawatata Gata Vajramami Mutta Vajrabawa Mahasamaya Sata Ah Hum Pe and Vajrasappa Samaya Manupalaya Vajrasappa Dina Patita Dida Mebawa Sitokaya Mebawa Sipokaya Mebawa Anarakta Mebawa Sawasidi Mimpiyata Sawa Kama Sita Me Sitam Shriyam Kuru Hum Ha Ha Ho Bhagavan Sawatata Gata Vajramami Mutta Vajrabawa Mahasamaya Sata Ah Hum Pe. So again, be delighted that all your delusions, which are the source of all of our own suffering and the cause of why we harm others with our body and our speech, are completely purified. And think that there's no space in your heart now for anything other than love and kindness and forgiveness and wisdom and bliss and compassion. So next is the purification of even these imprints of this negativity of our body, speech, and mind. So we're working at a little bit more subtle level here. So you imagine that Vajrasattva sends light and nectar. It fills you completely and eradicates even the subtlest imprints of negative energy from your consciousness. Vajrasattva samaya manupalaya Vajrasattva dina patita dita meboa sitokaya meboa sipokaya meboa Anarakta meboa sawasidi mimpiyata sawa kama sita me sitam shriyam kuru hum ha 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 ho bhagavan sawa tata gata vajramami mutta vajrabawa mahasamaya sata a humpe and Vajrasattva samaya manupalaya Vajrasattva dina patita dita meboa sitokaya meboa sipokaya meboa Anarakta meboa sawasidi mimpiyata sawa kama sita me sitam shriyam kuru hum ha 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 ho bhagavan Sawa tata gata vajramami mutta vajrabawa mahasamaya sata a humpe. And Vajrasattva samaya manupalaya Vajrasattva dina patita dita meboa sitokaya meboa sipokaya meboa Anurakta meboa sawasidi mimpiyata sawa kama sita me sitam shriyam kuru hum ha 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 ho bhagavan sawa tata gata vajramami mutta vajrabawa mahasamaya sata a humpe. And Vajrasattva samaya manupalaya Vajrasattva dina patita Dita meboa, sitokaya meboa, sipokaya meboa, Anurakta meboa, sawasidi mimpiyata sawa kama sita me, sitam shriyam kuru hum ha 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 ho bhagavan, sawa tata gata vajramami mutta vajrabawa mahasamaya sata a humpe. And Vajrasattva samaya manupalaya Vajrasattva dina patita, Dita meboa, sitokaya meboa, sipokaya meboa, Anurakta meboa, sawasidi mimpiyata sawa kama sita me, Sitam shriyam kuru hum ha ho bhagavan sawa tata gata vajramami mutta vajrabawa mahasamaya sata a humpe. Vajrasattva samaya manupalaya Vajrasattva dina patita dita meboa sitokaya meboa sipokaya meboa Anurakta meboa sawasidi mimpiyata sawa kama sita me sitam shriyam kuru hum ha ho bhagavan sawa tata gata vajramami mutta vajrabawa mahasamaya sata a humpe. And Vajrasattva samaya manupalaya Vajrasattva dina patita dita meboa sitokaya meboa sipokaya meboa Anurakta meboa sawasidi mimpiyata sawa kama sita me sitam shriyam kuru hum ha ha ho bhagavan sawa tata gata vajramami mutta vajrabawa mahasamaya sata a hum te. So now feel completely purified. There's not one atom of negativity left in your mind stream. Even the subtlest obscurations to your enlightenment have been removed. And now we come to this power of resolve. And this is the fourth and final step in the purification process. And it's a really crucial one. And this is this determination to not harm with our body and our speech and our mind. So we can, I sort of also like to think about it as refraining from harming. So without making a decision to refrain from harming, we're just going to keep doing the same old stuff over and over again. And this determination, this aspiration to not harm becomes like a beacon that guides our body and our speech and our mind in new directions. It just gives us some guardrails. So first of all, rejoice in your efforts for coming along this evening. And of course, for Shrey, it's very early in the morning. For some of you on the East Coast here, it's very late at night. And for the rest of us, it's somewhere all the way in between. And for our Australians, it is in the middle of the day. So rejoice in your efforts for turning up. And then think about something you maybe like to work on. Maybe you have a habit of something. Maybe you bite your nails, you eat too much sugar, or you can't help blurting out things at the wrong time. Maybe you have this habit to sort of tell little white lies if you think you're going to get into trouble. Whatever it is, think you'll maybe just work on that between now and tomorrow. And this determination to sort of refrain gives us some strength. It just gives us a little bit of a guideline. So imagine Vajrasattva is delighted, wants to merge with your mind and melts into white light and absorbs into you through your crown. And think, my teacher's body, speech, and mind, and Vajrasattva's body, speech, and mind, and my own body, speech, and mind are the same. So next, our precious Rinpoche would recommend to meditate on emptiness. So, in emptiness, there is no I, the creator of negative karma. There is no action of creating negative karma. And there is no negative karma created. So at whatever level you understand emptiness, place your mind there for a little while. We can think of all phenomena as being empty. They do not exist from their own side. And we can also think that the way things appear to me may not necessarily be the way they actually exist. So that's a good question to ask. When you see an email that looks aggressive, but maybe it isn't. Maybe it's just your interpretation of it. Or you see something and you interpret it completely differently than it actually is. So it's always good to just question before we jump to conclusions. So let's just dedicate all the merit, all the positive energy we've created doing this practice to all living beings, all those people of our life, and think, may all the virtuous karma I've created from doing this practice ripen as my enlightenment for the sake of sentient beings as quickly as possible. So now we do these 3 verses of chanting the names of Manjushri for the swift return of Lama Zopa Rinpoche. Protector as the greatest of all the vidyas, a guru as the greatest of all mantras, traversing well the Mahayana's path, himself the Mahayana foremost way. In chapter 6, the wisdom of Immaculate Dhammadhatu, he is Mahavarayachana the Buddha, great sage, observing great intensive silence, arising from the great mantra way. He is at heart the great mantra way, accomplished in the 10 paramitas, having the 10 paramitas as home, in whom the 10 paramitas are pure, for whom the 10 paramitas are means. So let's just dedicate all the merit we've created this evening to all those people of our life, and by extension, all sentient beings. And particularly now we have someone here, Shrey, from Israel, where there's a lot of difficulty right now. So just send lots of love and wishes to and healing to everybody involved in all of this business over there. So I thought tomorrow morning we could do a meditation on the Buddha of compassion, Chenrezig. How about that? Let me just send lots of love out to the world. How about that?